Welcome to Sabado Session podcast. Today we have got the 120s. God, fellas, how we doing?
Good.
Doing good, man. Good.
Fantastic. And of course, we have got our good friend from. Oh, there's another one coming there. Who's that? Oh my Lord!
Shit, son!
Oh,
Surprise!
Got the whole gang
Surprise!
here, man.
Surprise!
I'm glad my bro. How you doing, Rondel?
I'm not too bad. How you guys?
Good.
I was good about 5 minutes ago, brother. So you joined.
Yeah, just when everyone was trying to forget about him, Blue Elbows was way into the party.
Have you seen, Ryan? Did you notice the calmness in the 120 faces as soon as the Rondel jumped in? Everyone is calm now.
That's right. We got a major announcement, guys. Rondel's going to be at Worlds.
Oh yeah.
But Etienne literally left. Yeah, Rondel's like, another late notice. Good. I'd like a little more than 3 weeks next time.
You start seeing those dropouts and thinking, oh yeah, do you know what? I just not coming. Oh, Devin will be like, you know what? My kid just came home from hospital. I'm not coming, so I need to spend time. And then Nonso will be like, I got exams. Cool. Boys, this has been, I know it's hard in terms of timing to get all of you guys on the same podcast. I really appreciate guys for coming in. So, of course, I had to bring Ryan in to help entertain this because the voice of powerlifting, we are the voice of powerlifting. We can't have a podcast. I don't care when he does those one-to-one with people, but this one, he had to be here. He had to be. All I'm just gonna say, guys, the feedback for the 83s, I don't know if you guys are gonna top that. So hopefully you will, because the download on the 83 in the 24 hours when I released it, I thought I became a superstar. And even I called my boss at the bank. I said, guys, I might resign from my job, mate. I think I made it.
Don't quit your job yet, man. Keep your job for a little longer.
Yeah.
Boys, look, it's been wonderful. I'm gonna go straight to it. You all seen what's happening in the 120s. I think for the past 2 days or so, the 120 class has been ridiculous, right? It's been ridiculous. But unfortunately, none of you guys have been able to break that Dennis World Record total, which is embarrassing, but we'll go there later, right? Anyway.
Well, hang on a sec.
I know Rondel.
All right, okay.
Yeah, but Rondel did it, but it didn't count because that federation in RPF, isn't it? So
Powerlifting America. He
As a
did it.
guest.
He did it as well. Yeah.
I got all my facts. But anyway, guys, look, the noise has been all over the place, right? And me personally, I know I'm looking forward to Germany for my own class, but the 120 is a class not many people are actually giving it enough credit as the 93 and the 83, and we can all agree with that. But the 120 has got killers across the board, right? I'm just going to ask this, right? Devin, I'm going to start from you. Because you just did PA, and of course you told us what you had to do to go to World Championship. What was the incentive when you're looking at the battle around the world? How much that actually fire up in terms of going there, do what you need to do, and get to that battle?
At the time, it wasn't a real high incentive because Rondel wasn't going to be there, and I think at the time Nonso wasn't going to be there. So there was, Etienne, I think, was kind of a shoe-in for his country, but there wasn't much of a worldwide presence in the 120s. So honestly, at that point, it was maybe a bit cockishly looking ahead to a potential shot at Sheffield. And then this man to my right in the screen got his bid to Worlds, and that changed things up a little bit, but it does make the battle much more exciting now.
No, so what about yourself? Because again, I know as Devin said there, of course, at the beginning, we had you as a reserve because we had go Tony Cliff and all of that. And when Tony pulled out, because the first person to be on that team is you. If you didn't make that team, probably I would be home myself. So how did that incent you to go to World? And now you need to solidify your name as the Nonso, the lifter, one of the best powerlifters on the planet. You know, I'm not saying Gino don't count, but come on.
It was definitely a bittersweet moment, especially right after Nats when I came third. So I didn't think I was going to get like an invite. Then I got it, and it's definitely been like, okay, I kind of messed up at Nats and I didn't do what I needed to do. Open Euros was good. It was like a good like opener of what I have the potential to do. But I feel like this Worlds is definitely like a one where it's like, okay, besides Rondel, there's everyone else across the board who is about the same strength. And it's like, okay, like this is where you show who's the strongest. So like I'm fired up.
Wow. And before I go to Rondel, I'm going to go to Etienne there. In terms of like, of course, for yourself, the last time, the only total I have registered for you is since Lithuania, 958, right, which is big. You're the only man I've seen pulling the world record twice, even though the first one, they fucked you up. You need to start making friend in IPF, my friend. And then the second one, of course, it ended up the way it ended up. How does the 120 growth as incentivize you going to Germany?
I think how everything is going, it's going well. I think the training is going well, everything is going good. But having to really just keep going with everybody's training and the situation here and the situation with me, it's going well. I would say it fired me up good. 958 is long gone for me, that's for sure. With at least having some setback with my injury, but 960 is long gone for me. 960 total. It's gonna be up at least 20 kg, 30 kg. Would say, but it's gonna be good.
He put his cards on the table there, guys. You heard that 20 kg up. So we're talking about 980 here, right? And I'm gonna go to Rondel, right? Rondel, I know when you did that stories about I'm the only one that can stop the sweep last year. My friend, I think that helped the world. It helped all of us. We literally said, look, if the only one that can stop the sweep, just imagine because he's not here. If you actually stop the sweep, you get that momentum away from him. How much, I was thinking that how many followers would I add on my social media? Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? So, in terms of like you sitting on the sideline, seeing, of course, the political things, we're not going to go through it. They can fuck off. Anyway, moving on. Now we're in a time where Rondo is here. How much incentive and how much push these other 120s are actually helping you push to that extra mile?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot. Like, because the situation that like I'm in is one where it's like, let's say I was to come to Worlds and like lose, right? And lose in my head is like second, right? Um, the narrative would basically be that like yeah, he was good, but he was never that good, you know? So it's like I have to shit on everybody. Like I can't even win by 5 keys in my mind. I can't win by 5 keys, I can't win by 10 keys. It can't come down to the last pull. It needs to be like everyone is coming for second type of thing, or else, the last few years were for nothing. So the push is insane. Like I just saw Nonso's 405 yesterday. Shit was ridiculously easy. Dev about to bench 600. Like I also want to be the best at every lift also. So it's like, so it's multiple levels to it. But the push is insane. Is a lot.
To me, like when you see, of course, these numbers that you mentioned, but I think one person puts a story today that made a little bit of sense to me. 400 has become the new 300, and 300 has become 200, and the 200 in powerlifting has become 100 kilos, right? And the class that has made 400 to become normal, don't count Sanchez. Sanchez doesn't count, right? You guys should not count Sanchez. The class that's made 400 to be normal, to me personally, I think is the 120s, right? Ryan, what do you think there?
No, normal's a funny word, but I 100% agree. You see people hitting the 400 way more often. And yeah, Sanchez is absolutely ridiculous with a 405 like that. I don't know what to expect from the 120s. Let me ask you something, Rondel, if you don't mind, Jurins, if I jump in for a second here.
Oh man, look, come in. That's why you're here.
All right, Rondel, you were saying you feel pressure to live up. However, in a lot of respects, it's still people are looking past you despite the fact that you're here. Hidden in plain sight. People, God bless, we started off this podcast saying, 120s haven't beaten that record, but you've toasted that record years ago. This is like, what do you think here? When you're watching from the sidelines, there's a duality here where you're coming when you finally clash head to head with everybody. And it seems like you'll only get that respect when you do. I got a feeling. Maybe you feel the same way. You could react to that because you're posting up numbers, but until you do it head to head, it feels like. So there's pressure in that respect. You have to do it head to head. And then on the flip side, are people looking past you? So there isn't maybe as much pressure as, I don't know. How do you feel about all this? Because I don't know myself.
Yeah. I feel the pressure. Like, even though like my best total is 1045, right? And no one else has put up above 978.5 in competition just yet. Like, I pray to God someone breaks it at Wheels. Like, I would hope that happens. But
105 is going to. I got news for you. let alone a
yeah,
120.
Anthony already did, right? He did at PNAT, which was unreal. But I think to some extent, yeah, like the wider like powerlifting community does like look past me just a little bit, just because like I haven't been on those stages where like you truly could earn the title of being the best. So it's like, I guess people who know that I'm the strongest right now, but the people who don't know, they don't know it and they don't acknowledge it because I haven't been to Wales, I haven't been to Sheffield. So for me personally, I feel that pressure, but I don't think that I don't think that that pressure is being applied externally. It's probably more so like internal, where like I feel like I need to be what I think that I am, so.
I think like I've got a question follow up to that one in terms of the pressure because again, look, rightfully so. Of course, we all know you are the strongest one, not just 120, potentially to the extent that we can go to say the strongest powerlifter alive, right? When you step on a platform and then go up with these numbers, because you see a 120 to do what you're doing. Personally, we look at the likes of Etienne, they got the age, of course, Nonso and all of that. The future's bright in the 120s. But would we see a Rondel Hunt, another Rondel Hunt? Probably not, right? So my question to you would be is, of course, these guys are going to be a world. They will battle our world. Of course, you are coming back to the IPF. You said that you hope someone can break that record. Where do you think, or what is your wish is for that total to be pushed up, for you to come and crush it? Because the 1,000 kilos is nothing, because you've done 4,045. Do you know what I mean? So 1,000 kilos should not be an incentive. I had Agatha here on that one, just to spark you up. She said, quote unquote, breaking world record does not motivate me anymore.
Yeah.
Only maybe 2 or 3 people in IPF that can come up with a statement like that. And you're probably one of them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, go
on. Yeah, so I would think that they would record, like, by the time I, like, get back to the IPF. Like, I don't know when exactly that would be. Like, I assume sometime, like, next year. I would think it would be close to 1,000, if not 1,000. I know, well, Etienne already said that he's good for like 20 keys on top of 960, so that's 980 right there. And I follow everyone's training very closely. Like, I have post notifications on for everyone here. So like I know like what people do. And I also don't necessarily just even look at like Instagram posts, but I also look at like YouTube videos. I also look at how training in the past has translated into meets and everything like that. So yeah, I don't see why it wouldn't be 1,000 at least. But my prediction would be somewhere between 990 to 1010 is where I think it would be. So,
boys, you've heard it. So I'm gonna go to you, Devin, first. Heard that 990, 910, right? So I'm not gonna do a Ryan. Do you think we'll hit that all? I'm not gonna ask that. I'll leave that question to Ryan, right? One, just because for coming from Rondel to believe that you guys are capable of 9-9. Does that incentivize even your approach now?
It doesn't change anything. Respectfully, I don't care what Rondell thinks we can do. I know what I can do, and I'm pretty confident on what the other guys can do. And I mean, I'll give my flowers to him. Obviously, when he comes back, he will probably be looking to push whatever that record currently is to something significantly higher. But I'm hopeful that I can push the bench record to something he can't touch. Nonso may be pushing the deadlift record to something he can't touch. I don't know who's squatting the world record, but we don't care about that. But I think when Rondell returns, he will have a bit of a challenge to face in terms of collecting all of the world records. The total, I think he will be in a good position to steal. But I think we're all in a pretty good place too. That 978 is too old. It's been there for too long, and I believe all three of us competing at Worlds this year can push past that.
Honestly,
you got a
that's the
question?
proper attitude to have. Let me just say that's the proper attitude to have is like, with all due respect, it doesn't matter what he thinks. I gotta whatever's gonna win it. You're right. You are right. But it was a good, good, well answered, Big Dev. You're media trained now, man. You've done a few of these, huh?
I mean, is not American nowadays a media trained? It looks like it. The entire team, you talk to them thinking like, yeah, I received training, mate. I know what to say.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna go to, of course, again, Nonso. I'm gonna throw that question to you before I go to Etienne there. Again, you heard because you're young. The thing is, like, probably I would say you and Etienne, you're in a position where you guys, especially you're young, right? And then you're doing things like no one at your age has ever been able to do, right? And then things that even some of the open are not able to do. I mean, you are part of you're part of Team GB. Always going to be biased. If someone asks me who's the strongest one on the planet, I would say Nonso, even though Rondel exists. I'm sorry, Rondel. I'm always going to be biased. All right. So, how listening to something like Rondel himself incentivize in terms of like that extra mile that you're going to World? Because I know you're going to World to it will be a movie, as we said, as we spoke about the squad. How the incentive now, you hearing that 990, 1,010 from Rondel?
Yeah, so I don't think I was media trained as Devin to say that. I don't care. Obviously, Rondel is like currently the strongest 120. So obviously, what he says does gets me a little bit. I definitely say having me around there means I've got to push past that. I know obviously I'm young, but I don't like to use that as an excuse almost. Like when I don't perform, people will be like, "Oh, you're young, it's fine." But I have the power and potential to be at the best, so I want to be at my best. So I definitely have a chip on my shoulder in that way of being like, just because I'm young doesn't mean I'm not as strong as you guys. So I definitely want to like push to the best of my ability. I do think, like Devin said, whether he will or not, I won't make it easy for Rondel to have that deadlift record. Obviously, he wants to come and collect all of them. So all I can do is push it as far as I can. And even though I hate the thing of age, I think I've got time on my side. So just got to push it as far as I can before he's back.
I'd throw a follow-up in here because you made some good points. First off, yeah, you do have age on your side. And you're also right. Rondel has a bit of a gap. At what point do you think you can mitigate that gap? Because your progress has been phenomenal. And I honestly believe, I don't know where your roof is, your ceiling is. At 20, there's a gap in kilos between you and Rondel, but there's also a gap in years and age. And you'll probably reach those kilos at a sooner age. How quickly can you catch up to Rondel so you're neck and neck? He has a bad day, you'll make him pay.
I think I would have comfortably said like 2 years, but the issue is, and I'm not going to act dumb, Rondel is still progressing as well. So it's hard to see like who can progress quicker because obviously he's a mature lifter and they don't like you shouldn't progress as well as he is. So I want to say, but before I'm actually old enough to be an open, so before I'm 23, I want to be around the same, if not pushing past him.
Well, you've seen he was not fully prepared for Powerlifting America. You got very late notice. And it was 10-10 there, Rondel?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Can you do 10-10 by next year?
Yeah, I think if I'm not able to do 10-10 by next year, I've slowed down a bit. I think at the rate I'm at, I should be there.
So if he has a bad day, he shows up ill-prepared, he'll pay the price next year. That's all I need to hear, my man, because we got this, my man. That's it. I'm also media trained, Playboy.
Yeah, quit stirring the pot, Ryan. Damn, give us a break.
Damn.
I'm also media trained. I'm doing my job. That's why Jurins brought me in here. But anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And let's throw that question to Etienne. Of course, we talk about 980% potential, as you said. How the 990, 1010 that Rondel spoke about incentivize yourself and the approach coming to Germany. Because again, Nonso is young, but we're forgetting you're 24, mate. Because age is on your side. Do you know what I mean? So yeah.
I would say each person is running his own marathon in this game. So whatever the other person says, I don't think it will make any difference. If it's not this year, it's the year after, and if it's not the year after, somebody will go down. Like I don't think someone will stay at the top. There's always a person coming up, and even Rondel was at his peak and he did 10:10. He didn't do his best, 10:45. Whatever comes in the meet, anything can happen, I would say, even if he is at his best, even if he's media prepared. Whatever happens on the media, anything can happen on the platform. So I would say, I'm more than ready. And I'm happy that I'm competing against you guys, everybody, even Rondel, even though Rondel was very angry at me because of something I said on Insta, I remember last year. I don't know why, but the guy had 5 years to train, all the respect for him. But at the end of the day, nobody stays at the top. You know?
Yeah.
And I'm more than confident about that. More than confident about that.
I mean,
Was
look,
it first off?
this is a safe place, Ryan. Right? This is a very safe podcast. He mentioned Rondel, you were pissed off at him. What the fuck? What happened?
That's what I'm.
No, I want to know too. Was it like
I remember,
it was probably
on one of the podcasts with Ryan and Rondel. I think I spoke to you on Instagram. I'm a very big fan, by the way. And I spoke to you about me competing with you on the same platform. And you were pissed about it. You were pissed about it. I don't know why. I don't know why. I'm not even close to you, man.
Because he was like DMing me basically.
I will catch up, man.
But he was like DMing me, telling me that he would catch up. And like I was just like last year, I was just like an era where I was just pissed. Like if someone hit a PR, like a 120 kg lift hit a PR, I would just be pissed. Like, why are you making progress? Like I don't like that.
I mean,
Gotcha.
God, you know what? I mean, I understand. You know, the saying what you said there, Etienne, in terms of like nobody remains at the top forever. We all powerlifters. We know that is true, you know. But at the same time as well, you look at some name, you look at some peoples, you look at what they're capable of. It's almost like, again, you guys are competitors, so you're not like me, guys. It's almost like it brings a little bit of a fear into what tomorrow could be. Do you know what I mean? Because at the moment, of course, we have the young Nonso there that we don't know the ceiling, right? We have got Dave Williams there that can bench anything that he wants. I thought to myself, the only big bencher in the 120 apart from Rondel is Tony Cliff. But as I look at Dave Williams benching, I'm thinking like, I even told Tony the other day, I was like, bro, I think me and you should start booking some retirement home or something. We can go and just in the sunset. Do you know what I mean? Because the reality is like, no one stays and stop, but what other people do inspires us to do more. My question now, this probably, I'm not going to throw this to you, Rondel, because you probably will tell me every 120 inspired me. Every time I see a 120 hitting 950, I'm pissed. You know what I mean? Which is a fact. That I love that mindset, you know, and I love that mindset. I'm going to ask this to Nonso, as you're young, and of course, you've seen Rondel, you've seen Tony Cliff, and you've seen the rest of the 120 around the world. What 120 that you look at thinking, it's not just about the total, right? You can have a bigger total than the person, but there's probably something from that lifter that you admire. what name that comes across to your mind thinking, oh my God, look at what that person is capable of, or what they have done in the past, or what they've said in the past?
I think the first person initially that comes to mind is, I think, Dennis Cornelius. I don't think I lifted at the same time as him, but just the fact that the rapid progress of powerlifting and the fact that his record hasn't been broken, cool, it's down to technicality, Rondel didn't compete, but the fact it stood for as long as it has, like, as an old timer, you just actually have to congratulate him and be like, okay, like what you were doing at the time you did it must have been genuinely out of this world. I don't know if it's the longest standing record, but it's definitely like up there. So that's
he's in Sega. Yeah, he's in Sega, but Sega one is tainted, so let's not talk about that. Yeah.
So Dennis, and then I feel like everyone in this pod, I can kind of take something from everyone. Obviously, I think Devon's fought some like challenges going on outside of powerlifting, and having that mentality to even still compete, I think is really admirable. I've spoken to Josh, I'm sure you guys know him, about Rondel's situation, and the fact that you even continued powerlifting. Like, I feel like that's enough for some people to just call it a day and not like powerlift anymore, especially with like, everything, all the politics and that. And Etienne, when you pulled the world record twice, I was like, to have to come out and re-pull a world record, that takes a lot of mental strength. Like, obviously I'm going to back myself, think I can do it, but I have a lot of respect for like you doing that. So I don't know, I feel like there's bits of everyone that you kind of take and you're like, okay, I respect that a lot.
I agree. I mean, go on, Brian.
I was going to say a follow-up question here. Great. So you find Dennis Cornelius is an inspiration. 100% agreed. Who do you think is the 120 GOAT?
Are we talking right now?
This is why I brought you here. No.
GOAT means all time. All time. GOAT means all time.
Oh, all time.
Not right now.
It's between Rondel and Dennis, but I just.
That's right.
I'm gonna go with Rondel. I think even though Dennis has stood, it's what he's done to our class. Because obviously he'll just talk about outliers and that. It's just too far ahead right now.
Dev, look like you. What are you thinking? Do you disagree?
No, that's just the fact that you have to think about it, man. We got to give Rondel his flowers. He doesn't have the records or anything, but anyone who knows Rondel knows he would beat Dennis 10 out of 10 times. Like, I put respect on Dennis. He has the record. But I mean, it's kind of like the Jordan LeBron thing. Jordan's facing plumbers, bro. Rondel has some of the best 120s. I know you're a big Jordan fan, Ryan. So don't get on me. But.
No. You're right. I'm a Jordan fan, but I think you're right in that 9 times out of 10, I'm a titles guy. Who have you faced? Who have you beat? Etc. However, when you look at history, this is all through politics, not through somebody dodging competition. And Rondel's dominance so far ahead of the pack. We're like, we have the best 120s in the world on this podcast. And you guys are all phenomenal athletes. And you're all like, sheesh, we got to try to catch up. That speaks volumes. And 9 times out of 10, I'm a titles guy. But this is one of the few cases where, in my mind's eye, it's got to be Rondel. Yeah. And I love Dennis. And we don't get here without Dennis. Dennis was needed for his era. He was the best of his era. But all time is all eras, and I would put Rondel over anybody in all time 120s.
Ton of respect on Dennis, but I got to say one thing that really proves the point. If Rondel wasn't banned from the IPF and he was allowed to compete for the past however many years, we wouldn't talk about Dennis. We wouldn't talk about him because he wouldn't have any records anymore.
This is what Ryan said there. The 120s to me, people can bash me all they want. It's pretty much the only weight class in IPF that can come out here and say someone that was banned, he's the GOAT of this weight class. Do you know what I mean? He's the only one. I mean, I know the 59 people will come in the comments and say, yeah, but what about Sergey? Sergey is tainted. We can't not talk about Sergey when they come to me, even those 59 are totally 600 kilos, 620, to me, they're more valid than Sergey. I'm sorry, that's just me, right? That is me right there. So the 120 is the only class that can look at someone Rondel and literally use the word GOAT. I don't use the word GOAT just like the French use or the American use. I don't believe everybody is a GOAT. I do not believe that. Only a few people deserve that. Do you know what I mean? That is just me. Rondel, what about yourself? In terms of, you heard the flowers and all of that. I know you don't give yourself enough credit, which is rightfully so because you're an athlete. You want to do more. Do you believe you are the GOAT of the 120? You are ahead of Dennis?
Well, I think Dennis himself told me that. So, I,
That's
yeah,
a flex.
so,
That's a wrap,
flex.
son. That's a wrap, son.
yeah, I guess I would say yeah on that. But like as you say, like I do put a lot of weight on like titles and like accolades and stuff like that. Because it's like I could go to Worlds and like just completely shit the bed, you know, like we never know. So yeah, I still think that like everything that I have done so far, in like USAPL and then this most recent like Powerlifting America meet and everything I've done in the gym, like credit would be added on to that once I can get to Worlds and like showcase that like, hey, like I was always the strong all along, you know. So I think yeah, I would probably say I am the GOAT, but I think even more so, like even just one title would just skyrocket that like so much more, in my opinion.
I agree because in terms of like me, I'm all about legacy here. You can total 900 kilo, no Joey B, that's not a shot at you. You can total 900 kilo, but if you don't have the longevity and the legacy, to me, it doesn't mean anything. You know, I'm all about legacy because, for instance, like typical example, a lot of power lifters, the way they put in the world games down, to me, I feel like putting them in a cage and me going up and punching each other, literally punching them. Because I'm thinking, hang on, we're going to an event that only happened once in 4 years' time. And you telling me turning up to that event is full of shit. It doesn't mean anything. What are you going to tell your children? What are you going to tell your grandchildren? You know what I mean? Well, I was a world champion. They will ask, oh, yeah, but have you done the world game? Have you done the Olympics? Oh, no, we're not in the Olympics of sport, but we are in the world games. But daddy, have you done it? Oh, no, I've never done it. See, that just go down. To me, I value things. I value legacy. So what you said in terms of like world title just elevate things to the next level. And then you three, of course, Devin, Nonso, and Etienne, you go into the world championship. So my question leading to this one. Would you value a world championship or would you value a qualify for Sheffield? Which one is more important? Because again, the reason I asked that question is, I will follow the fact. You total over 95% of the world record, you can still get slotted into that reserve slot, right? Of course, you win world over 95%, you win your first invite to Sheffield. You're the first pick. But people that win like the like of Russ, Panna, and the rest, they turn up to Sheffield because they were above the 95%, right? So what would you guys prioritize here? Would you do what Taylor Howard, load for the win? Or let me just load to secure that Sheffield? I will start with you, Etienne. What's the incentive here? World or Sheffield?
I would say it's the same for me because for me personally, as a Lebanese person from Lebanon, nobody competed in open at all. So me securing a gold medal for Lebanon is more important for now. So I think it follows up to going to Sheffield. So I would say it's the same. Having a world championship, going to Sheffield, it's the same. But of course, it motivates me to get to Sheffield. So yeah, that would be for me, I guess.
Okay. Because again, I would just add it on top of that. There's people that have won Sheffield before winning world, by the way.
Yeah, I know. I was in the reserve slot. I didn't get picked, but it's fine. So I guess to secure it, I'm gonna be a world champion. That's for sure.
Amen. Hey, you, Devin?
Yeah, you said, would I do the Taylor Atwood and pull for the win? Lucky for me, I won't be pulling for the win in this situation. Unfortunately, I got two guys pulling 400 kilos after me. So lucky me, I won't be doing that. Yeah. But I mean, I think I'm pretty similar to Etienne. I think they're pretty identical. Like, I don't want to go to Sheffield by getting second. I want to win my first Open World Championship and get that auto invite to Sheffield. So I think it's pretty basic for me.
Straight right there. Yourself, Nonso?
Yeah, I'm the same. I think
you're pulling for the win.
Yeah, I think I'm going to end up in a situation like that. I feel like being a world champion is better than no disrespect to people who do it 95%, but you're a world champ. You know what I mean? I'd want that and get the invite that way.
I mean, look, I'm an SPD guy. I don't want to be cancelled by SPD, but SPD, they know me. I'm a podcaster. You know, I have to be neutral. I can't just be biased all the time. I'll throw this question out there, even including you, Rondel. Probably I'll start with you and then I'll go with Ryan. Do you think a a world championship has got more value than a Sheffield trophy? I'll start with you, Rondel.
So I think to me, because I was in a situation for a while where like I didn't really feel like I had any competition in my weight class. Back in probably like 2022, 2023. I felt like if I was just so far ahead of everybody else, like I kind of like started to look towards things that like compare people across weight classes. So when like the whole like dots thing came about and like my whole like goal was to hit 600 dots. And that for me like ended up like putting a lot of like weight on something like Sheffield, where it's tough because you have people like Amanda Lawrence who, you know, clearly like super strong, like even on formulas and stuff like that. But because her world record is so high, she just, you know, is like she doesn't place well at Sheffield. But for me, it's like because progress is such a big thing in powerlifting. Like, let's say, for example, I total 1045 for the rest of like for the next 3 years, I total 1045. At some point, it's like that's no longer impressive, you know? So for me, in my opinion, like somebody like Agatha who could be in the same weight class 2 years in a row and win Sheffield 2 years in a row, that's unreal, you know? So I definitely value Sheffield more because you're literally coming up against the best that we could pull together. Not the best in the class, not the best from, you know, like like off-brand countries who make it to worlds with like, you know, Trinidad is an off-brand country. So I'm
Yeah,
not
what's
saying
an off-brand country?
No, that's a line I'm not used to. Off-brand
Damn.
country.
no.
Can hold back.
Economically
I'm
priced.
from an
What the
off-brand country. If any off-brand countries are listening, I'm from Lebanon is an off-brand country. You know, like it's just
What's
A
Canada?
third word.
Did we make it?
A third
Is
word.
Canada make a brand?
So-
Is Canada? We made a brand. I think Canada makes a brand. I'm just throwing that
yeah,
out there.
Canada is a like brand name country, basically.
Okay.
But yeah, like Sheffield is literally the best of the best. Like so for me, Sheffield takes it for sure.
Even though they have got some of those people getting those PT invites, it's still the best. Anyway, moving on. Ryan, what do you think?
Honestly, for me, there's nothing will ever swap out world champion. I think Sheffield increases the value of the world championships and is the perfect marriage, like leading into the Sheffield coming about. There was actually talk about how do these two complement each other or do they conflict? Does one take away from the other or not? The way it ended up, it's the perfect marriage where Sheffield actually augments the meaning of world title because you have a champion versus champions at the end, which is beautiful. And but nothing will ever surpass world champion and world championships. And while there is some quote unquote love it off-brand countries, I guess, there's also all the brand countries. Like all the star, like you make it there. There's nothing quite like the world championships, and there never will. Without the world championships, there is no Sheffield. Who are you sending? Without the world championships, and you know what you have? You have just another money meet that ends up being like the untested, where it's a bunch of money meets start occurring, and you have everyone can pick and choose which money meet they go to, etc. The reason why we have structure on the tested side is because you win state or provincials, you win nationals, you win worlds all the way up through, and we have worlds. And worlds is that anchor that holds us in where we are right now today. Otherwise, we fall into the untested. Sheffield is the perfect complement, and I hope it stays like this. Let's not rock this boat. It's a beautiful situation where it's a champions versus it's like an all-star. We have our all-star game at the end. Lovely. It can't replace in my mind's eye the world championships though. I think it's easily the single biggest event we have in the world in our sport for sure. Sheffield, biggest money meet, etc. But that's the way I look at it.
I agree with you. Devon, what about yourself? Sheffield or world?
I would rather a world title. And it's kind of for the opposite reason of what Rondell said, with like Amanda never winning Sheffield because she's just too strong and has her total too high. It's like it's kind of like Shell. Shell won Sheffield, and Shell was not like a big social media lifter, and he didn't really get like that big of a boost from winning Sheffield. I think if Shell goes against Perk at 74 head to head at Worlds and beats Perk head to head at Worlds, I think that like blows him up way more than a Sheffield win does. Just the way Sheffield's structured with the percentages, like I mean, what's a bad class? I guess they're all not too bad right now. But like, let's say Waskar last year, never had a chance, man. Love Waskar, but never had a chance of winning Sheffield, and that's just kind of how it's set up. And no one, no one's putting it against him for doing that. But no one's gonna say Waskar isn't like a great 59 because he never won Sheffield or never like podiumed at Sheffield. So the way things are lined up, it's just hard to weigh a Sheffield win as significantly higher than a Worlds win. But they're both obviously prestigious. But if I had to choose, I want to go head to head in my weight class and be a world champion.
You want to be sounding like me, right? Where I work, every time I go to a meeting with my boss, you always start, Mr. World Champion. I just go like, when you're around these rich people, Arabs, and then, are you a world champion? I was like, yeah, I do a sport as a hobby. I was like, oh my God, but you are a world champion though. Believe me, winning world Rondel, I should show you my bank account now. You'll laugh, bro. But Sheffield didn't do that. But anyway, moving on with Enzo, of course, Nonso. What do you think in terms of like, which is bigger for you as well? Especially you're in a different bracket because you're young, as we said, and keep on saying, using that word young. So which one do you incentivize more? Is it World or Sheffield?
I think I'm gonna have to go with Worlds. I think one thing that Rondel's taken for granted is how far ahead he is right now in terms of total of everyone else. In most weight classes now, everyone's starting to even out. So winning a world champion, like world title, is a big thing because you've gone head to head with the best in your class and you beat them. I think Sheffield's is obviously it's 12 men, 12 women. It's for the outliers because you're so far ahead. It's like, okay, now I want to look to battle across different weight classes and be like the best regardless of weight to weight lifted ratio. But I think when you've got people who are around the same total as you and it's a genuine toss-up, you don't know who's going to win. A world champion, like in that situation, I think it's more sentimental and it means more to win that than winning Sheffield's does.
I agree with you. And Etienne, I mean, you're from Lebanon. As you said, both of them are big, but which one is ahead of the other?
I would say world championship. You don't know the meaning of being a champion in Lebanon. It's just on another level. They're so how would I say? They're not as common, So me being known wherever I go here in Lebanon, maybe not worldwide, but I guess because I'm not a good social media, not a good media guy. So me being recognized here as the champion, being respected, everybody knows what I'm good, my values, everything. I would say being a champion is much better than being a Sheffield or winning Sheffield. I would say winning Sheffield for me is not there, but being a champion is much better.
I think again, I'll double. Go on, right?
Go ahead, buddy. No, you go first.
I just wanted to double up about what Nonso said about Rondel, right? The incentive for you to put Sheffield ahead of World, I started thinking because probably you're the only one that can do that in the 120s, right? No offense to every other 120. I'm not saying you guys are not capable of, but you're the only one that can look at the type of like Perk, Shell, Jesus, and thinking, mate, I can beat you guys. You know what I mean? Literally, you're the only 120 that is capable to go up against those 3-4 men I just said that those outliers that we call them and get a result.
There's someone else, but I would
say. Who's that?
Which is Bob.
Okay.
When is Bob gonna enter the chat? But
I'm gonna bring Bob in. But Ron, you go first. All right.
Couple things. Etienne made a couple good points here. The one about the world championship, when you asked him about Sheffield versus the world title. He's 100% right. And when we're talking about nations like Lebanon, I could tell you Canada as well. We don't have a plethora when it comes to the Olympics and world championships and all different sports of world champions. Bigger nations like America have a ton of them. But when you're a world champion in most nations, it stands out. The entire nation's like, we got one. So people who aren't even into your sport now read about you, find you, hear about you, and take pride and say, did you hear? We got a world champion powerlifter. People who are not even into powerlifting, you're from Lebanon, they'll take pride in Etienne if he wins this. Guarantee you. It spreads around Lebanon that we have a world champion. Did you find that out? And they don't even have to be powerlifting fans. Certain nations like Lebanon and whatever, it happens like that. I've seen it happen with track and field with Donovan Bailey in Canada. The guy literally became an icon and everybody and their mother cared. That's one piece. Another piece in the equation, we were talking about Rondel being ahead of the pack, or you were saying he was ahead of the pack, etc. And we're talking a little bit about Amanda Lawrence. The thing is there too, and we can get into Bobb, and Bobb is a whole nother equation. We haven't talked about the chat. We got to talk about this a little bit at some point, but there's also something to be said for what Amanda's doing year after year after year, staying on top. And Russ actually spoke to it. I got to tell you, Jurins, you're the man who unseated Russ. And now Russ looks like it's like, frick, I can't come back. And then you got guys like, he's moving up, so he won't be officially as an 83 anyways. But then you got guys like Joey B emerging out of nowhere. And Taylor's like, shit, you don't know when your end comes. The end comes quick. It comes out of nowhere. And to build a legacy and just year after year after year, collect 5 world titles. And it literally means you can't have a bad day. The reason why I asked that question earlier with Nonso, it's not just, well, Rondel at his best, me at my best. I mean, I pick Rondel. That's not sports though, huh? You show up, you did 860 at Nats, you did 840 something at Worlds, Jurins gonna clap you and end your reign. It's that sports. So do that for half a decade, 5 years. You can never have a bad day. You can't have a bad day. Worlds is like that. It's one day, Matt Gary says, one day of the year. You have a bad cut, bad flight, bad whatever, and the rain gets stopped. It's still something special about that as well. And this will be the challenge when Rondel enters that world scene, international scene. His legacy. He's a young man, and 120s last forever. So he's got a great opportunity to build a dynasty.
So
I agree.
yeah. So I guess like double down on my point as to like why I think Sheffield is like more valuable than Wheels, right? For me, powerlifting is about progression. Like powerlifting compared to any other like major sport is still a very, very young sport. And I see the comparison of weight classes as almost inevitable. So even if it wasn't for Sheffield, the fact that Anthony at PNAT's total 979 and I total 1010 and he looked capable of totaling 1,000, to me is like there's inevitable comparison there. The fact that Amanda continues to total somewhere between 640 and 645 and Agatha 2 weight classes down is continually creeping up on that. To me, there's inevitable comparison there. So while staying on top and hitting big totals year after year is like challenging in and of itself, making progress beyond anything that has ever been done is even more challenging year after year. So for me, because Sheffield is literally scored on, there's no formulas involved. It's literally just how far can you go beyond what like anything that we've ever seen in this particular weight class. So for me, because it's scored like that, yes, people could finesse the system. You have Evie Corrigan and then Shell and whatever. But you also have people like Agatha who same weight class, and I think she said she's planning to be in the same weight class again for this next one. And still doing it. And for me, that speaks more volumes about who is the definitive best among all athletes, as opposed to just, hey, I have 5 world titles, but I've hit the same total every single year, So that's just why I value it more.
That's a great point. first off, I love it's what makes Agatha so exciting. The fact that she come back in the same weight class. This tournament is not set up for that. This tournament is not set up for dynasties on purpose, right? It's supposed to have turnover, so we always have someone new. And I don't know if I'd quite say Evie and Shell finessed it because they got to be. It actually, I would say it encourages people to find where is your optimal weight class, and not just comfortable weight class. I would just say that towards the end of a long career, you are holding on and getting title defenses as opposed to, look, my progress is behind me, but I'm still the best in the world and I dare someone to beat me. I think there's room for both, but you make some good points there. It is exciting. That's why I think it's a great compliment, the two of them. I really do.
I agree. I mean, talking about Agatha there, the plan is she's going to World as a 69, win a world title, two-way class. She's going to the World Games as a 64 kilo to total 10 times body weight, as the first woman to ever do that. Literally, this is our plan. Go to Sheffield as a 76, 69, 76, win a third Sheffield, and then go 2026 against Amanda Lawrence. That's the plan. Anyway, I had a podcast with her. That's what she put down. She said, I'm going to the World Game as a 64, 65 kilo and total 650, 640, 10 times body weight. Rondel, that's the incentive you need, right? So, so that's hard. So yeah, I mean, again, now it's about time to bring the cheetah. No, I can't use that cheetah because people will be thinking like, oh my God, have you been caught? It's about time to bring the elephant in the room, right? I mean, let's talk about Bobb here, right? So Bobb is a current world champion. You know, leading to Germany, Ryan, keep me honest here. There is no many class that would have defending world champions. If I'm rightfully to say so, it's only the 74, 83, of course 120 class, and 93, right? Which maybe almost like 5 class, I think, 5 or 4 class that will have defending world champion. The rest of the class is open. To me, I'm calling them open championships. You know, the 59, Waske is not coming, so it's for everybody. I know Kasim-san is there, but it's for everybody. The 66, I know Shell is a Sheffield champion, but he's not a world champion. Right? So me again, there's no defense. There's no defense. 74, of course. The rest, as I said. But so in terms of like Bobb not doing Sheffield, not turning up at nationals because he's prepping for that Rondel battle and he's prepping for the World Games, because I just listened to Marcel is saying like Rob is locked in for the World Games. So if you guys will be put in Bobb's position, I'm gonna start straight away with Devin, right? Because the people that prioritize the World Championship, what would you have done in terms of like all these Bobb's decision of missing Sheffield, missing World, and going to the World Games because he's prepping for Rondel next year? Would you follow the same suit, or is it you'll prioritize to get these accolades first?
Yeah, I don't think I would follow what Bobb's doing. I don't know if most people have the same mindset that Bobb has, because it seems pretty outrageous from an outsider's perspective. It seems like he is just becoming a hermit crab and lifting and just chasing Rondel with absolutely no other goals in mind. And, you know, if that's what he wants to do, man, that's cool with him. But like, Bobb has so much strength right now. He can be that guy before Rondel returns. And even when Rondel returns, he can challenge Rondel. And like, I mean, for the sport, it's a fantastic spot to be in. So I'm not sure, you know, and we don't really know what's going on with Bobb. Unless you guys are talking to him behind the scenes, he hasn't posted in a while. So I don't know if he is just blowing up right now and he's already passed Rondel and nobody knows. But I wouldn't be doing that. Yeah. I know he's probably not there, but, you know, we don't know what's
all
going
I can
on.
say, Bobb is strong.
I'm aware of that. I went head to head with him.
No,
But
when
no, I
I'm
mean,
saying strong, no 2024 strength, right? He's strong, but anyway, that's him to tell his story. But he's strong. But
yeah.
in terms of, as you said, the decision is made is not really something like many people follow suit. Do you know what I mean? And to me, at the same time, right, as a lover of powerlifting, it's almost inspiring. But I don't know whether it's in a good way or in a bad way. It's in a good way. Maybe I would say in a good way in terms of you see someone seeking for strength is capable to sacrifice all of that because you just want to get strong. I want to look at it, I'm thinking, and me, I'm sitting here, I work from home, I have a garage, and I'm making excuses. What the fuck? I mean, I should be benching 200 kilos. Anyway, moving on from that. Nonso, what do you think about in terms of Bob decisions? Would you do the exact same?
I don't think I would. I think it takes like a certain level of ego and like hard-headedness and tunnel vision to do what he's done, because not saying it'd be easy, but you would be nominated first for a world title. You could have done Sheffield's, and like Sheffield's is a prestigious event. You don't get to do it all the time. To turn those down, like you have to have such a fixed mentality on the fact that you want to do the World Games and beat Rondel. I think it takes a certain level of ego that I just don't have right now. I don't think it's necessarily bad or good. I just think it's something like a route he's chosen, which is quite taboo, but each to their own.
Just imagine you don't beat Rondel.
That's what I think.
The world will turn around and thinking like, man, what happened? Because Rondel right now is what Russ did to the 83, but it didn't work. When Russ said, don't compare me to those little tiny 83 I left. Rondel right now is saying, don't compare me to those tiny 120s. So when he comes back, you guys have to prove Rondel that you're not tiny anymore, like the 83 did. Do you know what I mean? Otherwise,
I stir the pot. You say I stir the pot, dog. You just put a lot of words in Rondel's mouth and ask these guys to respond, and Rondel's like, hang on a second.
Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, Etienne, I'm gonna throw this to you because like the culture and where you're from, as you mentioned earlier, is different. You know, being a world champion in Sheffield and all of that in Lebanon is a different ball game. So what do you think about Bobb's decisions about skipping all these high level meetings just because of the goal he want to go up against Rondel?
I mean, I would say the guy has some big goals to do what he want to do. I would say that. But as Nonso said, each to his own. Everybody has his own goals at the end of the day. And for you saying that we have to prove ourselves to someone, I would say that's totally wrong, man. Every year comes a lot of challenges. I would say let's leave this challenge to another. I wouldn't say that we have to prove ourselves to someone. I wouldn't say that because the time will come, you know. But I don't know when, but the time will come.
So let me paraphrase there for those listeners that are listening to us. What Etienne is saying is the time will come when Rondel will be crushed. So there's no way to fear about Rondel coming back. That's me paraphrasing. So I'm sure I got it right in his mind. He just didn't want to say it.
I just want to say that saying that we have to prove ourselves to someone is not that good, you know, because everybody's trying to prove himself, but to someone, not the ideal thing.
So as the goat of 120, what do you think about that statement?
I mean, it's great. He earned it. Oh, you're talking to him.
Oh, don't.
Oh, man.
I like that.
Go on, sir.
Wait, the statement that they
don't need to prove themselves, that they don't need to push. I mean, of course, you're just a human being, mate. Come on, you bleed like everybody else.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So while I do use like, you know, like everything for motivation and like on my YouTube rants and stuff like that, it may seem like I have a big ego. I also do, like, I feel like I'm a pretty humble guy. So I don't
think so. But carry on.
I think that's a fair statement to make, that they don't need to prove themselves to me, because the reality is, right, like, they're all great lifters. Like anybody, you know, totaling realistically above 940 is a great 120 kg lifter.
But with that cheeky smile when you're saying it, that's the problem. But carry on. Jesus.
That is the problem. That is the problem, man. Yes.
Yeah, so I don't think that they need to prove themselves to me necessarily. I mean, they would want to win when I get back, and that's another story. But like, yeah, I don't know.
Dog, you total 940. You total 940. Your next competition. How you feeling?
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna retire that day. You're gonna announce a retirement post.
I didn't want to comment on 940.
All right.
I mean, Ryan, I'm going to throw that Bob question to you, because I know you've done podcasts with pretty much a lot of Sheffield goers. You've done podcasts with some of the top, I mean, not top, but the strongest powerlifter we have on the planet. That question comes across and you got different answers from people. So yourself now, as someone on the other side of the microphone, I will ask, what would you do in that position that Bobb was put at, and him rejecting this high level meeting just because you want to chase a goal to go up against potentially, not potentially, but the strongest 120 that ever lived?
Look, at end of the day, Bobb's last competition was June 2024. His next competition is the August 2025. You're a powerlifter. You don't want to be in a position where you show up to work less than once a year. Whatever your goal is, you don't want to show up less than once a year in your physical prime. It's taking too much for granted what your physical prime is. Even if you showed up at US Nats just to post up a total, do it. Your physical prime it's so much shorter than you think. And the end comes so much quicker than you think. You got to show up to work and punch in and remind everybody who you are and post up those totals. Because Bobb's previous total last year at Worlds, I'm a Bobb fan. Phenomenal showing by a quote unquote 105. Now Anthony McNaughton just did that. We have another 105 doing that. That's last year. Yesterday's price isn't today's price. What was phenomenal 2024 now has already been replicated in 2025. Show up. If he was there at the same U.S. Nationals as a 120, post up a big monster total. Can you do a G? Throw us a G, even if you're not going to go to Worlds. Even if you're like, Big Dev, you got this one, man. And US is fine with Dev as a representative. He could bring it home. But post up, remind people, throw down that timestamp. Because when you say, nah, I'll wait, I'll go till August. Look, what happens in early April is not going to affect August in terms of your peaking. I got news. Show me the block of programming where April affects August. In terms of strength, it probably won't here. But if you take for granted the future's there, it isn't always there. Ask Taylor Atwood, where he lost a year and a half of inactivity, a year and a half of competing injured. You got to show up more often. And I'm saying this as a fan. Bobb is a phenomenal talent. As a sports fan, I got to see him more often. If I'm a boxing fan, MMA fan, I can't have one of my favorite fighters fight less than once a year average. You literally start leaving the conversations. You start leaving, you got guys like Rondel on the sidelines who would die for these opportunities. Just let me show up. So let me compete. I give a shit. I'll show up at US Nats. I'll be a guest lifter. I got no titles on there. I'll throw up these big totals. Let me show up and remind people. It matters. I just think, I think certain decisions wouldn't necessarily, he's might be looking at it as, it has to be this way for me to be able to peak at World Games or for me to be able to go at Rondel. I don't think certain things had to be taken off the table for that to happen. And he took them off the table anyways. But you know what? Like, God bless. I'm not in his shoes. It is what it is. I'm still a fan of Bobb. I just wish I got to see him more.
To me, this is what I always say this, people take the piss when I say this. Powerlifting or any other sports, when you're chasing somebody, that person is not going to wait for you in the next junction in the highway. No, when you get junction Z, he's already like junction 2. He started the numbers already, finished all the letters. Do you know what I mean? So now we're talking about Rondel, like 10:45. Even that, I watched Rondel 10:45. You can tell that was not the true strength of Rondel in that 10:45. If you give him time to train and all of that, we've seen him hitting like 400, God I know how many kilos. If he can get all his top lifts in 1 minute, I mean, even Jesus will start thinking, do I still have to be around? Because if that guy just add 2 kilos body weight, 2 kilos, he doesn't admit it. He just need to weigh like 121. And then we're talking about Rondel will be getting close to Jesus numbers. Do you know what I mean? So to me, I respect Bobb. He's a brother. I talk to him a lot and all of that. But as a fan of the sport, as a fan of powerlifting, I really believe Bobb has robbed us as fan. He has robbed us that strength. You know what I mean? And then, of course, he has, as we said, he has got his plans and all of that. God bless him. Hopefully it works out well. But Rondel, in terms of like the rest of the 120s that are left in the world, I know Britain have got the best 120 class at the national level. I can claim that. The Americans, literally there, you guys can't even come close. We have the best 120 class at national level, right, in the world. Ryan, and I know I'm not talking shit. It's a fact, right?
I don't know.
Anyway,
Wait a second. Let's throw Bob in the mix. We got Big Dev over there. Is
Yeah.
it? Is that a fact? I don't know. I don't know.
We have 6, man.
Hey,
we have
what total?
6.
What total was required to win British nationals?
Was it 9? Nonso, what was it? 9? Is it
952.
952.
And what
Yeah.
did Bob do last year to win nationals? The world record, I believe. And
Man,
what did I go? 960 in second place.
Hold on.
If I was British, I'd be going to Worlds every year, pal.
Man, that's 2 people. I mean, we have 5 that are capable of 970. 5.
Let's talk about our
get
guest
outta
lifter
here.
at US
Get outta
Nats.
here.
Let's talk about the guest lifter too.
No, he's a myth. Anyway, I mean, throwing this question.
I'm a one-man army.
Of course, you know
Brother, he's also media trained. He's also
bro, he doesn't even do nationals. So do you know what I mean? So I mean, Deb, by the way,
I do
thank you
nationals. I do.
Oh, do you?
But afterwards, it's after.
Oh, great. See, at least one person died in national. But the Big Dev, thank you for jumping for USA. They're fighting for the flag, always. You know what I mean? I love that. Rondel, the question for me I'm going to throw out there. Out of the 120s that are left in the world, of course, you've seen the progress of what everyone is capable of, including Bob himself. Who do you think, on your return to IPF, will be the one to watch? And the one that you'll be like, I'm going to watch the 3 squats. How it goes. By the way, Dave, when you mentioned in the beginning, maybe no one break the world record score, someone would from Algeria. My African brothers, I'm going to have to mention that. So, 375. Probably is going to load 3... What's the world record now? 382 or 85?
386.
I mean, I trust Sa to load that. You know, even though he's going to miss it, but I trust him to load it. Anyway, moving on. Rondel, who's the 120 that you're looking at now thinking, when I come back, this person will be dangerous?
Yeah.
That's one.
So just to touch on the previous topic before I say that, like, I fully agree with you that, like, the thing is, like, powerlifting is such a small sport, and we only really have, like, maybe like 20, 30 guys who like on the men's side that like I guess like prop the sport up throughout those like lulls of time in between like big meets and stuff like that, and even at the meets, and those like big social media posts like really help that, right? Like, so like Nonso pulling 405 or like Sanchez pulling 405, like hit those Jesus posts, Russ, like, you know, there's things you look out for. And like Bob's total post, like Bob probably started the whole like SBD total like wave, you know, like he was known for that, like, hey, like was Bob gonna enter this week 4 for like triples and doubles and singles, you know? So I don't even, like, if he's training right now, like if he listens to this and he's training right now, it's like, bro, post, like go back on YouTube, like you such like a pillar in the sport, and people love watching Bob. Like I love watching Bob, like from the perspective of even just a fan. So I don't know what he's doing, but even if he doesn't want to compete, like still, you know, like showcase what you're doing. Like people like to see it, and it does a lot for you too as an athlete in terms of your portfolio, social media, everything like that, right? But that's that. In terms of the one to watch, for me, it's a toss-up between Nonso and Bob. Again, because Bob isn't on social media right now, like I don't know. And the outright reason why is why I can't say Nonso is because of his bench. So
I'm glad I'm not the only one with shit bench.
My man.
So
Damn.
He's firing shots.
no, like that's not even
Look at
shots,
Dev
it's just,
covering
like,
his mouth.
it's not even shots. It's just like it, like Dev, for example, like he's going into worlds with like his bench being like a weapon. You know, like he knows that the reason why he has a shot to win this meet is because he's going to outbench Nonso by probably what 50 keys, right?
Maybe
So
more.
it's like
Yeah, maybe more.
it's more, right? So, you know, like you can't be 50 keys behind the like top guys in a particular discipline and you know, like be like the outright person on top. Like again, like, you know, he could eventually be like, obviously he gets bench up and stuff like that. But if, for example, Nonso was going into this meet with like a 255 bench, it would be like a completely different like story we're talking about. Like I probably wouldn't even have time to be on the podcast because I'll be training, you know. But yeah, so Bobb is that lifter who like has all the numbers. Like he's not the best at anything. Does not the best deadlift, does not the best bench or squat, but he does have like he's right up there on every single thing, which is what I think like the powerlifting like meta moving forward is like lifters who have almost everything, you know. So I'd probably say Bobb again, like this lull that's taken on social media is making it difficult for me to definitively say Bobb. But it would be between Bobb and Nonso, but I'd probably say Bobb.
Nonso, you better start working on that bench, you know. I don't want to get embarrassed, right? You got to bear when Rondel comes back. But one thing I want to mention here, right? We have Nonso in our country. You know, Britain is so blessed with 120, as I said, even though they've said otherwise, which is, I agree, in terms of the total. But we have Nonso and we have Joshua. That kid lost 30 kilos body weight. I would love to see Rondel to do 30 kilos, see where you're going to be, right? He lost 30 kilos body weight. He kept the exact same strength as a 120 plus, right? We saw the last junior he did 370 squat and more in the tank, right? Of course, we can't talk about bench because him and Nonso is the same thing. Anyway, moving on from bench. The deadlift, the 380 pull, you can tell there's more, and now he's getting leaner, and the deadlift is even getting better, right? To me, like, I look at him and Nonso, and I look at Rondel coming back. I know Bobb is strong, but these kids, if they add 20 kilo on that bench press, 10 kilo on that squat, and then Rondel, my friend, you're going to have to score 400. Otherwise, it's game over. Otherwise, it's podium for you, my friend. Third. Anyway. The reason I'm saying that, I'm not saying is they're capable to do that, but you're still the strongest. But in terms of you want to look at the age, the progression, everything they're doing, even though Ryan doesn't post them much on King of the Lift, they have so much talent that we have to appreciate as powerlifters. We really have to appreciate when we see that talent. It's almost like the future is, we can't wait for the future is here, right? And of course, there's Etienne that is 24, 558, as he said himself. And I mean, so 958, if he can hit that 980 mentioned there. So, Etienne, this is the question. It's about time for me to stir the pot. Rondel and everyone else mentioned Bobb and Nonso. How do you feel when you think about almost that you've been in the outcast from that list of giant? How does that make you feel?
It doesn't make any difference for me. I've always been the outcast. I would say when Jonah came out, where back in junior, it was the same. It was a tough battle. I won. As well with Bobb, I was the outcast when Ryan put me at third. When they were doing that. They were doing the I follow up the podcast. I think they were doing the numbers. See who's first, second, and third. I was put at third as well. I think I've proven myself good, but I would still be the outcast. I don't mind. It doesn't make any difference for me. But I would still show up, put that tough battles. We've been through tough battles, so it's nothing new for me. But I'll be there. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. Ryan, can you explain that third position you pull Etienne?
Well, first off, love both Etienne and you listen to the podcast, watch, follow, but throw a little shade. I don't mind. That's good. That's good. A couple things. A couple things here. First off, in terms of Nonso and the bench press, I think that's actually a good thing that at 20 years old, we see definitive areas where you look at a lifter and like, where does he throw these kilos on? And you see guys have actually, like Perkins used to have his bench was way behind. If you remember, at one point, way behind. I remember having a podcast similar to this. Taylor Atwood actually telling him, the bench is the hardest to move, and you're way behind, etc. And now Perk and Taylor, like, who's going to be the first to bench 500, etc. So you can close the gaps. Now Perk worked hard, rejigged a couple things. I don't know exactly what they did, but his bench flew. Same with Russ. His benches recently flew. It's possible. So while it's for sure an area of improvement, it is an area to improve, and you need to find those kilos somewhere. Where does Nonso catch up to Rondel? Because sure as shit, it's hard to foresee 40 kilos on the deadlift when he's already at 4 or 5. More realistic, you look at, like, my man, are you telling me I can't improve on the bench? And most people are like, no, you definitely, he's like, let me get some time to work. I'm 20 years old. It's there. So you see pathways. I'm interested. It's up to him and his coach to devise the battle plan, but others have been faced with this and done it and seen massive gains. And Perk went from to the guy. And, Russ had a major bump as well. In terms of Etienne, what he's saying, he's a bit of a sleeper. He doesn't post as much on social media, etc. It's not necessarily a bad thing either, because when you come from the US, you're going to be extremely heavily hyped. Even from Britain, you're going to have massive people all behind you. The pressure. Rondel's already talked about it. Rondel's like, look, I'm not even in this competition. I feel pressure to have to stay as the number one pole position guy. Where now at least Etienne can operate with everyone else up feeling the pressure, and he could show up and on the day of clap somebody who doesn't see him coming. And it's not the worst case in the world to be, where you're from a place like Lebanon. You don't need to post as much. Etienne said, look, I'm not necessarily a social media guy. You're not going to see all this top end lifts. Trying to piece together, where does this total leave him? We know he's going to end up, he's a threat on the podium. Etienne is a threat on the podium. We know he's been at different world championships, juniors and open. Exactly where he's at is going to be more difficult. It's also good for him in terms of strategy with the other coaches like Matt Gary and whatnot, who are trying to piece together, where is his top end? What can we expect? Now, Etienne said 20 kilos, but is it more? I don't know. Is he telling us? Is he telling us 20 kilos? It's going to be 20 kilos. I would assume he might have a little more in there. I honestly am very interested if these fellas think they're going to hit a G. Last year, Bob said, don't get clapped by a 105. Anthony McNaughton's at 980. Fellas, have we seen a G out of you guys? Is Anthony McNaughton going to have a bigger total than you guys? Please, don't get clapped by a 105.
I mean, that's
the Nonso, what do you say to that?
I don't think Anthony will have a bigger total than us. I don't know. I don't think we'll need 1,000 to win. I think we'll have the strength to do it, but I don't think we'll do it at that meet. But I think this will be the last World Championship in which a 105 is as close to a 120 as it is now. I think we're just 120s as a whole, we're starting to take off. And I think in the next year and 2 years, there will be that big gap like there is the other weight classes. I think we'll be closer to the 120 plus than we are to the 105s.
Hey, Dave?
I think if you're not planning for 1,000, you shouldn't plan for a gold medal around your neck.
Nonso, again, I'm going to tap the table 3 times. We are not coming here with a silver or bronze. Anyway, Etienne, what about you? What do you think? 1,000?
I mean, we'll do our best.
Bro.
He knows everyone's watching.
Do you know what? I think the funny thing is, right? I was thinking about this and across the board. I just hope you don't end up with a handler that Rondel had in 2018. I was there in Canada, front row, when the Genius 105 was lifting. We all saw that squad thinking, why didn't they fucking chip the world record?
Yeah.
And they didn't know. And they didn't know. All right. So I wish all your handler well. I wish them success and I wish them wisdom, because you will need that. You know what I mean? And I'm literally looking forward to the 120 class. But again, to me, Ryan, and of course the guys on the podcast, I was looking up. I know we can't look ahead as an 83. I can't look at what we're going to do at World and look at the World Games and, of course, look at Sheffield. I don't do that. Me, it's about, I always said to myself, if I get 2.5 kilo in my next comp, that's enough for me. Right, that's that for me. I don't want it all. 2.5 kilo will be more than enough. Right, that's I always work it into my powerlifting career. But I looked Sheffield next year. Realistically, when you look at it, Anthony has to be the favorite to win Sheffield. If Keenan pushes, we all wishing Keenan pushes. If he pushes them in Germany, then we can go like, oh, thank you. Now Sheffield, like previous show, is a bit hard. Do you know what I mean? But if he doesn't get a push from Keenan and World, guys, we're all lifters here, right? We're all lifted here. For the love of God, for the love of Pope Leo II or Leo IV, right? Guys, come on. Who's the favorite to win Sheffield next year? That's the question I'm throwing to you guys. I'm going to start with you, Rondel.
Yeah, I think Keenan going to Wales is big because
I was so
before
excited. Go on.
before Waska pulled out, Anthony would have probably just like cruised a very like easy 940, probably like 945, and then just taking the gold. But with Keenan there, obviously, like he got, fairly short notice. Like he knew he was the first reserve, but you do expect someone from the US team to like pull out of Worlds. So yeah, I don't know what version of Keenan we're gonna see. I don't know if he'll be able to out total what he did at Nats. But yeah, I think definitely we're not gonna see 940 as the winning total. It's probably gonna be closer to like at least 960, maybe a little bit more. Which is good. But I think Anthony could also probably do 1,000 at least by next year, Sheffield. If not, he's capable of that right now. So yeah, I think Anthony's for sure.
His favorite. I mean, Ryan, I'm going to throw that question to you because you've spoken to both gentlemen.
Okay, first off, Waskar pulling out hurts, but Kasim saying, holy shit, he did 680 in the gym in prep for Worlds. Kasim saying is about to say, Fedo who? For the longest time, we were waiting for a 59 to equal what Fedo was, albeit Fedo popped. Kasim Sand is looking phenomenal. I don't know what he's going to end up doing, but I think a prediction, Kasim Sand wins Worlds relatively easily and then keeps some kilos in the back pocket for Sheffield. It might be a sleeper. He might be a sleeper. I don't know how far he's going to progress as a 59, but holy freaking smoke, 680 at around 60 kilos body weight. And the world total at 59 is 670. And by the time Sheffield rolls around, I don't know. I don't know what he is fully peaked. And I don't think he's going to reveal to at Worlds. In terms of Keenan joining, first off, thank God the honeymoon's still on. If anyone listened to that podcast, like famously, my man was like, I'm already plotting. I'm getting married around PA Nat schedule. We're going to do the honeymoon in Europe when we're at Worlds, and then we'll do Sheffield afterwards as a follow-up. Honeymoon's still on, but I think Rondel's right. I think he's going to pressure Anthony quite a bit. And I think for the men's side, it's going to come down to the 105s and the 120s. If I got to guess, I think Jesus is going to go all out at Worlds. I think he's not leaving anything in the tank. Jesus has gone through some ups and downs, and I think he realizes don't save what you have on today, banking on tomorrow. Tomorrow's not entirely promised. He's had too many ups and downs. I think if he feels like he could destroy the world record at World Championships, I think he drops the hammer and does it. So that's why I would say Jesus isn't saving for Sheffield. If he feels it, he's going to drop it. I think the 120s, especially with their growth, or the 105s. So you kind of queued up the question that way. I would agree with you. Between the two, I think the 105 still has an edge to take Sheffield.
Because for me, I believe, right, again, as a lifter, I know it's hard. It's harsh for us to say this. It's very, very harsh. But the 105 world record, when you see the talent that's coming in that weight class, that world record is not too high. It's not high enough. It's almost like what we had over the 66, right? This is why you get Shell dropping out and doing a madness, because that world record was not high. Because as much as we're talking about Kasim Samba, the 59 world record is ridiculous, right? He will only going to take someone from 66 to come and break it. Look, all respect to Wildcard, I love Wildcard to bit, but that world record, to me, again, this is the world record I always say it should be reset because it's not fair. It's just ridiculous, right? That's where I am with it. So, in terms of, again, I'm gonna throw Rondel, you chime in there. I'm gonna throw this to David William because you are doing world as well. The incentive win world go to Sheffield. Between Anthony, as I said, I think he's the favorite to win Sheffield if everything goes to plan. Who do you think is favorite to win Sheffield on the men's side?
Yes, and Rondell or me?
You.
Oh, okay. It really depends on what happens with Keenan and Anthony at Worlds. I mean, they could push each other to set the record somewhere similar to 120s, and then they can play the Sheffield game of weighing in at 106 and maybe choose whenever's a little lower. But I mean, Anthony looked insane at PA Nats, so if that can translate, like hats off to Keenan, he's a super strong lifter. But if Anthony keeps his momentum, he's a bit ahead of Keenan. So I think he could do 1,000. He can maybe do more than 1,000. So right now, I'd have my money on him.
That's incredible. Anthony's listening, just thinking, "Oh my God, look at the pressure! First World Championship, and then people banking me to win Sheffield." Nonso, what do you think?
Yeah, I think right now Anthony's just like quite far ahead. The only way I see in which he doesn't is if Keenan pushes him too far and he ends up missing in a couple places, and then they both end up going to Sheffield and battling out there. But if that's the case, then I don't think he'll have the ability to just like cruise through and do like nice attempts to land him in first place. But if he has his day, I think it is Anthony.
I mean, of course, Etienne, you're the last one in terms of like, who do you think is favourite to win Sheffield on the men's side?
I mean, they're going to be.
We're losing you.
I think the 5G is gone, my friend. Can you say that again?
Sorry. Their head-to-head in Worlds, it's going to be the same in Sheffield. If the second gets picked in the draft from the slots, the reserve slots, I would say that it's going to be the same, but
I mean, for me, Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, or keep me saying here. I believe when you look at Sheffield, the way Sheffield is set up, when you have a battle of a weight class in Sheffield, the ladies let's not compare ourselves to the ladies. They're a different ball game, right? They're a different league, right? We can't, what these ladies do at Sheffield, we can't compare to the men. The ladies are ahead of us in terms of a world record breaking Sheffield. So look at what Gata is doing. I'm talking about in terms of battle, especially on the men's side, for the 3 Sheffield we've had, it's really hard to win Sheffield where you're in a battle with someone. You know, because when you look at Jesus won Sheffield because he did a madness in the first one, right? And the second one, we had Gustav winning Sheffield. Gustav didn't really have a battle. I know he had go Kaiko in there. Yes, that we say because Kaiko is a perfect 93. That's the problem. But that's probably the only one we can say there was a battle there and he won Sheffield in a battle, right? Last year, Sheffield won Sheffield. There was no battle. So for me, this is where like the caveat is when it comes to Anthony. If he goes to Sheffield alone, then he's clear favorite to win Sheffield. But if he goes to Sheffield as a battle, that's when things become really interesting. You know, because it's almost like you're not just putting the numbers on the bar, but you're already looking what the other person is doing, right? What we had with the 93, we were so blessed to have that type of battle at Sheffield when Gustav and, of course, Kaiko. But would we see that again? I just don't know. I really don't know. I'm not shitting on the 93 here. I'm not shitting on the 105 or 120, but I just don't know. What do you think, Ryan?
Well, first off, let me say, there's a caveat I want to throw out there. If there's a powerlifting god and we could slaughter a goat to gain his favor, everybody pay attention to Taylor Atwood if he goes missing in the next couple of weeks, and we get Rondel Hunte at Sheffield, everything changes. He instantly becomes the favorite in my mind's eye.
Do you know something that we don't know?
I do not. I'm just saying there's time to still hope and pray and slaughter a goat, and let's see what happens. And Toronto to New York is a short flight, and Taylor Atwood lives in New York, and I'm in Toronto, so he's got to watch himself. He's got to, for the love of the game, I might have to do this. But anyways, let me throw that out there. And sorry, in terms of you're asking battles and how those impact Sheffield and potential Sheffield winners. Look, you're right. Gustav won. He was in a battle. It does make you pick your attempts a whole lot different, doesn't it? When you are unopposed, except against history, it's a whole nother ballgame than when your opposition is neck and neck with you. And there'll be people there whom they have other people in their weight class, but God bless, the opposition is not neck and neck with you. You're not jogging, looking beside you. They're reading whatever logos you got on your back because they're so far behind. Your attempt selection is entirely different. You can now roll the dice and just let it all hang out. And I 100% agree. A huge piece of this is going to be when Sheffield rolls around. Is it 120 or is it 2? Is it 105 or is it 2? I think you're right. If that's where you're drawing at, is a big chunk will be if they send both Keenan and Anthony for, hey, let's run this one back again. That was sensational at Worlds. That's going to be a little different. That's it's hard to ignore someone beside you. You might say, well, we'll just push each other, whatever. Sure. 100% you're going to push each other. It is different. It depends on the spread. I don't know. Or the 120s. If two 120s end up going. I'm not sure. It's an interesting question.
I agree with you. So the battle makes it interesting. But again, I'm going to put something out here because I don't want to piss off Shell. Right, he's a man that holds grudges. He will hold grudges, literally. You will see him walking up to the 83 just to come and prove a point and fucking crush me. Do you know what I mean? As always. So, yeah, I don't want to piss off Shell, but Shell has a plan to win Sheffield again. Right, so when you guys are talking about who's favourite to win Sheffield, I think Sheffield should be mentioned as being favourite. I can look at your faces thinking, nah, man, he's not going to be able to replicate what he did. Fuck that shit. Right? And probably, Rondel, what do you think? Do you think Shell can replicate?
No, I don't think so. One thing I want to mention though, like this just crossed my mind actually.
Yeah.
Cook is such a good lifter that he like transitively created 2 outliers.
Yeah.
In Shell and possibly Kasim San.
Yeah.
Like he literally like pushed people in the weight classes and like that's so crazy. But yeah, I don't think Shell is on my radar to like win. But yeah.
Wow, feel sorry for Shell. Ryan, what do you think? He's your friend. Be nice.
God damn. Why'd you have to load it like that? Look at 770 at 60 kilos, and he's got to cover a spread. I mean, it'll all be a whole lot more clear after Worlds when we know where Anthony ends up and the 120s end up. Because if Keenan pushes Anthony, if Keenan's 100% and pushes Anthony, and Keenan before was saying, I got 1,000 kilos in me. If Keenan is on point where his beliefs are, and he ends up going even 980 range, and forcing Anthony to be 980 point whatever the hell, Shell might. He might. Then Shell's like, oof, thank you. Because I'm looking to my left and my right, and I don't think any 66s are going to be pushing me like that. I think I win Worlds with less than the world record. And if I could do 790, I just throw 20 kilos on percentage-wise. Yeah, 100% Shell is in that mix. It's difficult because you need several events to happen first, obviously, right? But I think Shell's, if you ask me right now, as a 66, can Shell do 790 or in the 790s? Yes. Yeah. By next year, yes. I do think, though, it'll get increasingly harder for him just to chill at 60 kilos. I was told, and you might know, Jurins, that he had to cut.
This is not a secret. That's public information right there. The man turned up at Euro at 73 for something kilos. And I picked up my phone. I was like, what happened? Did they feed you a baby or something? What the fuck? How did he go from 66? Not even like fucking 3 months. And then he goes to me like, oh, I had to cut down to 74s. I was like, what? So, but wow. Again, he's done it. You can't bet against Shell, you know? Right. He's been in the sport. He understands the mechanics around it. He has got people like Kendricks around helping things like that. I'm not saying he's not capable of, but looking at the things the way progress. I mean, I think Nonso and of course Rondel, you mentioned it in the beginning. The progress of powerlifting now. I mean, you got Dave benching 700 pounds. Do you know what I mean? Before he come to bloody PA Nats when he was in USAPL, we're just thinking, oh yeah, he's just he doesn't come. But as soon as you switch, you're just thinking, oh my God, this guy's here. You know, we thought the biggest bench was Rondel, even though Rondel has never benched more than Dave before. By the way, that's a fact. Dave, see. You got one on Rondel.
Right? I got to interject before Rondel starts roasting me. Yeah, it's funny because my best bench is only half a kilo higher than Rondel's best bench, but it is higher.
Half kilo.
But my friend, how many people will say that? Exactly. How many people will say that? Do you know what I mean? I mean, of course, Nonso, you can probably claim that you pulled. Well, Rondel, what did you pull in USAPL?
397.5 is my best.
Oh. Rondel's falling off.
No, exactly.
I haven't even pulled 400 and go. Crazy.
You know what, Ryan? I think you are friends with people that do open powerlifting and open IPF. Can you ask them to pull, especially on open powerlifting, to pull Rondel data correct, because that meet he did at USAPL is not there.
What?
It's only the 10:10 that is there. The 10:45 is not there.
On open IPF?
Was?
I mean, maybe I'm checking the wrong phone.
Oh wait, you're an open. Are you an open IPF and not open powerlifting?
Oh, I'm on open powerlifting, isn't it? Maybe my phone is lying to me. You know what I mean? I've been looking at it for the whole day. I'm thinking that.
I know it's there. Let me double check right now.
Anyway, never mind. It's there. It's there. Look at Rondel checking his phone. Rondel's thinking like, I've been deleted? What the fuck? How can you delete me just like that? So again, what I'm saying, like, of course, Rondel is falling behind. But again, in powerlifting, you never know, right? You know what I mean? He can't.
This is a narrative we're spinning. Like, I spin narratives. That's a tough one to massage.
Because at this point, Nonso has a gold medal in the deadlift, the world, and Dave has got gold on the bench press, and Sa will have gold on the squats. And Rondel will walk away just for the total. Let's say one medal, one gold.
Just with the total. I think he's okay with that. Rondel's like, I guess I just got the total then. I don't know. I think I'm
of course, again, Rondel, this is probably, I'm going to ask you guys the last few questions because I know, Etienne, you probably have to go. Your bedtime's up. So, yeah, you need to get that 980, 990 prepared for World. Again, Rondel, of course, we're throwing you these total. We know Sheffield incentive is every world record you break, you win money. Right? And then, to me, winning Sheffield is fantastic. If you win Sheffield just by winning, that's at the moment is what, 30 grand, isn't it, Ryan? 25 grand to win and 5 grand for the total you break. So you win that 30 grand. But if you break every single world record, you increase that perks. So I'm going to ask you this question. Coming from Trinidad, I'm not saying like you guys are poor. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that. But all I'm saying,
you have to...
coming from Trinidad, how the incentive of going there and crushing every single one of, because again, 5,000 on the squat, 5,000 on the bench press, even Dave, this is where you have to bench that 275. Please hurry up. 5,000 on the deadlift, Nonso, 420. And of course, 5,000 on the total. So when you put that together, you get a good package. How's the incentive for you coming to IPF next year?
Yeah, so the incentive for me is way less like financial than it is just like from a fulfillment standpoint. Like it would mean, and the thing is, like, when I got into powerlifting, right? Because I got into powerlifting initially in 2015. Like I did my first meet, right? Money in powerlifting was nothing. Like people weren't, like sponsored really like that. Like I guess maybe if you're like Ray Williams or something, but people weren't really like sponsored. Social media wasn't as big. There weren't like money meets, different things like that. So it's like when I got into powerlifting, my objective wasn't money. Like if I wanted money, I would have done something else. So even now, and like, Nonso had mentioned it where like, like a lot of people going through the circumstances that I went through would have just like quit, right? So it's like, even now, like I'm not in powerlifting for the money. Like, yeah, I mean, it would be great. Like, like that's, it's a lot of money by, like most measurements. But at the same time, it's genuinely more like, I need to do this to feel complete. Like I've spent 10 years of my life, like just lifting weights that I don't want to lift. Like at this point, like I hate lifting weights to some extent, but like some sessions that is hard, So it's like from like a self-fulfillment perspective, it would mean so much more than from a financial perspective.
Do you sometimes do have sleepless nights, knowing that you haven't achieved that still?
I wouldn't say I have sleepless nights, but I do have like long drives with no music. Just like just thinking about like Jesus Christ. Like I just
Nonso just put 400. That should have been me. Dave just benched 263. That should have been my 0.5. I should have just loaded the last comp. I mean, again, this is what I'm going to ask you. Of course, I just want to get perspective here, especially from Etienne. You're from Lebanon. You spoke about winning a world title, how important it is in Lebanon. In terms of like the financial incentive, of course, the opportunity. How much opportunity would this open for you in Lebanon if you're coming back as a world champion?
I would say not a lot. It doesn't open a lot of opportunities, but it does open a lot of opportunities outside of Lebanon. I would say that. But making the sport bigger in Lebanon is something that I did achieve it. A lot of people come to me saying that we are playing the sports because we saw you go outside. We saw you travel, we saw you compete, we saw you actually putting a gold medal, 4 gold medals, 3 gold medals that nobody has done in the men's side. Being the motivation that the Lebanese people see, the Lebanese people think of, it got me excited. It what brings me out to play the game. Because Rondel really did say that the sport is really not that big. It's still relatively small to other sports. In Lebanon, it's still small. It's really small. So making it something, it's just something big for me. So it does open a lot of opportunities. It does, but it's up for me to make use of these opportunities.
Can I say something? That's exactly with a lot of cases in powerlifting. I love that Etienne said that. In powerlifting in our sport, you win a world title, you win whatever, nothing's going to open up just because of that. But you can do something with it. Now that you're a world champion, now if Etienne contacts a couple local universities and says, can I come in and do a seminar and show people how to weightlift properly? You have a weightlifting gym. Etienne can start doing seminars around Lebanon. He's going to be the only world champion they got. You do weightlifting. Everybody does weightlifting. Every sport does weightlifting. Let me capitalize. But nobody's going to come to him and say, let me throw you on a speaking tour. Let me throw you on a sponsorships. Let me throw you in seminars. Etienne will have to capitalize off it, but he needs something to use to capitalize off. Exactly his attitude. You have to have the entrepreneurial pick your spots and shoot and make it happen. It doesn't just fall into place for you. And that's the case with most people in powerlifting. Here's the plus side. We got a lot of creative freaking people in powerlifting. From Sabado to King of Lifts, we built this, man. Nobody gave us nothing. I ain't got to tell you.
Trust me. Well, I should have gone and play F1 karting for my kid, but I'm right here talking on microphone. See, I'm giving up karting right there outside. But anyway, so I mean, guys, again, what Ryan, I will just follow up what you said. I went back home just after Sheffield for the first time after 25 years, right, to see my mother. I turned up in that country. I went to a local gym, right? I thought, look, not being there for 25 years, everything is behind and all of that stuff, Africa out, the image of Africa that the West sells. I got there, first of all, guys, I kid you not, the gym I train is on the 11th floor. They have got flooring that is being enforced and they spend $1 million just for a powerlifting gym. $1 million. right? And I sat there, I'm thinking, so do you guys powerlift? Oh yeah, we do. They start showing me the meat. And I'm thinking, oh, this is an opportunity here. And then as soon as when I turned up, I didn't need to tell them my name. They knew Taylor Howard, they knew Russ. They said, oh yeah, you're the one that compete with Russ. Have you got some pictures of Russ? Can we see you and Russ? Because in Africa, it's what you see is what you believe. Even though I told them I'm Jurins Kengamu, but they still didn't believe me. These niggas still didn't believe me. I had to show them pictures. Do you know what I mean?
That's right. I want to see identification.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know,
You look like him, but are you him?
Trust me, I put out my phone, I start showing them this is Raz, this is Ella, this is Jesus.
Yeah.
This is what I would say this. If you're competing at world or you're competing this high level meet, please take pictures, guys. Save the opportunity. You know, in the past, some people used to just go there. Bob, I was so pissed off at Bob in Lithuania. He turned up the day he was lifting, and then the next day when I woke up, the man was down, disappeared. Right, but that's Bob Matthews. That's how it works. But the thing is, when you're doing these things, those pictures I took in Lithuania saved me when I went back home. That's how they believed me. Even though, right, they had me lifting a wall in their gym on the fucking YouTube, right there. They still did not believe that was me. Literally, they was like, nah, you look like him, but this can't be you. I was like, man, look at the scar. Look at my gappy teeth. That's me. You know what I mean? But still. So what I'm saying is, it's all about what we give back to this sport. My question to follow to that, again, I did ask the AE3 these questions. How much do you give back to this sport? I know it's important for us as lifters to be volunteer, to give back to our sport, to grow it. I'm going to start off with Dave. I know you have got a young family. I know you have got so much going on, but how much do you give back?
Damn, I feel like you're calling us out right now.
Oh, man, trust me. That was literally the first question I should have asked when I kick off the podcast. Go on.
I mean, across from aside from like the basics, like I help people on social media have like questions, or I talk to people in my gym and give them advice, and just kind of I don't officially coach anybody, but I give out like coaching advice all the time, which, caveat, I'm not a coach. But I'm not like a referee. I really don't. It's kind of hard in Indiana right now to help in terms of like being in Powerlifting America, because there's not really any meets. And if like I want to help out with like USAPL or any other federation, can't do that because of the Article 14 bull crap. So can't really do that right now. But when Powerlifting America becomes more common in Indiana, I help out spot and load. I actually did commentate at my first local meet.
Nice.
Actually, Jess Bittner competed there too, so got a little bit of world class action there. So I help when I can, but I'm not a coach. I'm strong, but I don't really know what I'm doing. I just follow what my coach says, so I don't feel qualified to do that. But I'm just your basic guy. If you ask me a question, I'll tell you what I think.
I think that's the thing in America, isn't it? Because the federation is just growing now. Especially you guys are a continent. I know Marcel is saying we don't understand how big America is. I did pretty well in geography at university, by the way. But what I'm saying is, you guys are such a big country. State to state is just fucking hours and all of that. It's hard to fly from the other one just to go and be a referee or just to go and be a volunteer. I understand that one. But as you said, if you help in terms of like giving us advice, that's your way of helping. That's more than enough. Do you know what I mean? More than enough. Want someone that bench more than Rondel, if he tells you something about bench press, you will listen. Do you know what I mean? You listen. Rondel, you're not going to get over it. So, yeah.
Look at Rondel's face. He's like,
this is the question, Ryan. Before I go to Rondel and Nonso and Etienne in terms of the contribution to the sport, I just want to double back for one thing. Of course, Dave said about the Article 14. Now, because Gaston has resigned due to his libido being really high, is Article 14 still stand, or is he? What's happening there?
No, yeah, for sure it is. As a matter of fact, I think they're doubling down, and it's even more extensive. If you're an official, coach, etc. Yeah, there's Article 14.
That's wild, because I had Agatha here. Agatha almost got banned because she did silent worker, and in Poland, the coach should have requested the federation that Agatha is going to do silent worker. So after silent worker, she had to go in front of the bloody board and explain herself. Do you know what I mean? To me, that's wild. That is crazy.
There's a lot of things I'm not a fan of. It is what it is. it's difficult to do away with certain things.
Yeah.
But yeah.
He's been mid-10, guys. Anyone who's listening, Ryan has been really well trained. So you can tell there's a lot of things holding back there. But moving on to Rondel, like in terms of like, look, you won. I mean, your story I love the most is when you came back from Canada, you went to Trinidad. The opportunity that the country opened for you as a powerlifter, as a world champion, you spoke about it. It was tremendous. And I spoke to Carlos Griffith as well from Guyana. He spoke to me about the opportunity. But my friend, all of these doors are opening for you. Now you're a newly married guy, right? You're a coach. You make so much money from the powerlifting. Apart from coaching, what else do you give back, mate?
Not much outside of like I guess what Dev mentioned. Like I try to do like YouTube videos, like informative stuff, entertaining stuff, and just be, I guess, like present in the community and support like however I can, do whatever I could. These like obviously, you know, everybody knows like how these past few years went for me. So it's like being like living here in Trinidad is not much that I could do or have done like directly for the community or for powerlifting in any way. So I guess most of what I would do is just like online and as you say, like through coaching and stuff like that. So as Dev said, I feel like you're calling us out. But you know, like we just like in a line started up here. It's like, what have you done, Paul?
I mean, realistically, to me, because again, it's the love of the sport. We're enjoying this because we are at the top level, what we're doing. But we shouldn't be gatekeeping this. Yeah. We should be helping. We should be volunteering, asking that. Because I always say this, I go to commercial gym. I see people doing some stupid shit with weight. And then sometimes I look at them, I'm thinking, does he even understand how much power he has to be able to do that? Just imagine if you teach that person how to squat, bench, and deadlift, the easiest movement. You know, just imagine if they bring that to powerlifting. And these people have got thousands of followers on social medias. All they do is like some dumb shit with dumbbells, you know, picking a dumbbell with the teeth and all that crap. I'm just thinking like, just imagine if you stop all that crap. Look at Bob. When he stopped doing skateboarding and shit, he became one of the best 120 in the world. So yeah, Nonso, I think I've asked you this question before.
Yeah, you have.
You're asking me in terms of like volunteering. Until now, I haven't seen your face on the platform volunteering.
No, I just came from Bristol yesterday.
We need a picture. We need a picture. This is a call.
I have to prove that. I saw you handing out trophies because you're a poster boy. But I'm talking about...
We sponsored the comp. we sponsored that.
You can't be a pretty boy in the back. Are you handing out trophies?
No, me, James, and Nathan, we sponsored that comp. Elevate as a coaching thing. We sponsored that comp. We're doing. I remember you offered you last time.
Is that checkout, Jurins? Jurins, is this checkout?
Yeah. I haven't volunteered yet. Obviously at Junior Nats, obviously coaching, spotting, handling, all of that. But I haven't volunteered yet. I would do it though. I would do it. You told me to come afterwards. I'm there. I'll do it.
Me and you come to London. We're trying to help on the platform in London, so you can tick that box. Because at the moment you're pulling all the 405 and 420. I'm thinking this kid is just gatekeeping. All these he just want all the glory to himself. You know, he doesn't want to be helping that person's grinding to RP 20 on the squat on the platform. So yeah, so Etienne, what about yourself? I know you mentioned about, you already touched down on this one in terms of like what you do, but in terms of like, of course, coaching, I know you're a coach, right? To you, the question will be a little bit different. Powerlifting is small in Lebanon, but in terms of the trajectory where powerlifting is moving, where do you think that is going?
I mean, for now it's going well, really good. Last year, 2 years, if we go 2 years back, we were like 20 people or 30 people in national. Right, everybody, all the categories, everybody. Now we have almost 150 lifters. Last year's national. This nationals, we have almost 200. I would say it's a great thing for us. I've helped a bit. With loading, spotting, trying to help a bit. But you can only do much with the federation, since the federation is a bit a part of all the athletes. And so we try to help as much as we can. But we as coaches, we know how to guide the athletes. There's only like 4 or 5 coaches in Lebanon. One of them is my coach, Jad. But we guide them pretty well, I would say. And we let them know how the game works, how the game runs, who are the athletes, almost everybody here in the podcast. We let them know how the game runs, you know.
That's good.
So we've done much. There's a lot, and of course the federation did a lot in these 2-3 years that have run past. So it's a group.
Yeah.
It's a group work.
Thanks, mate. Go on.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I think that, like, all of us, just by simply like lifting and pushing ourselves and like documenting what we do on social media, like we do something for the sport as well. So it's like, you know, like Dev documenting the challenges that he was facing with like his son and stuff like that. Like that's inspirational, you know, for like anybody coming
Does that
out there.
pass, Jurins? I don't know, Dev.
Man,
I don't know, man.
Dev, you know, as soon as you start talking about the kid, I'm thinking, come on, leave the little angel alone, man. Come on, man. Talk about you. You know, what do you talk about? I'm thinking like, so now I ain't got no excuse anymore. Because like, my kid is 4 now, right? Because if
his kid's 15 years old, then he goes, listen, can I tell you something? Like, Dev, you gotta stop bringing this up.
And people be telling me like, you can't chat shit. Look at Dev's kid. Do you know what I mean? I'm thinking like, but to be fair, jokes aside, like your story, I would say this. Rondel mentioned that the story is inspirational when you listen to this. I don't think, right? I really don't think, if you are not a parent, you will never, ever, ever understand that. Never. You know, you can only understand that when you're a parent. Because when you were talking, when I listened to the podcast, I was listening to the podcast of me and my missus. And my missus is an emotional woman. She was bawling out. I was like, just get out there. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Because it resonates with a lot of us, what we've been through in life, right? So that story alone, like listening to it, you know, put it into perspective. People don't understand how much it takes for you to go and load a 220 bench press when your kid is in the hospital, right? Because when you're coming down on that bench, all you thinking about, is he breathing now? You're not even thinking about press sometimes. You're not even thinking about what the speed of this bench is. Do you know what I mean? So, mate, I literally put it to you, the fact that you had I would say that you had the guts to come on a microphone and say that I wouldn't be able to. I wouldn't. I don't have that kind of let's just say incentive, or I don't have that kind of strength to be able to do that. My last question to all of you guys, 2 questions. One of them controversial, and one of them just a decent question. I'm going to start with the controversial one, right? How many old men do you reckon lead your powerlifting federation that you believe they're slowing the sport? I'll start with Dave.
How many what men?
Old men. Oldies.
Old men. Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not real familiar with like the leaders of my federation. I'm not sure it's a good question for me. Hey,
Okay,
before we move on to this question, after you just picked all of our pockets about what the hell we're doing for the sport, besides upsetting the greatest 83 of all time, what the hell are you doing for the sport, Jurins?
Okay, the list, I don't think
he was ready for this. You know he was, though.
Young man,
you know he was ready for this.
I don't think you would be able to write it down in a spreadsheet if I start.
Oh yeah, you knew, Dev. You knew he was ready again. He wasn't gonna.
First of all, Dave, I'm a Hall of Famer, British Hall of Famer. To get that title, you have to be representing on the platform. You have to have longevity, and you have to be able to give back to the sport. That's the only way you can get that title. And I'm only one of the few people in Britain that have got that title. So does that answer your question, or you want me to name it?
All right, I'll give you flowers for that.
I love that. I love that.
It's
Hall
not
of
the
Fame.
IPF Hall of Fame, but it's the GB Hall of Fame. All right.
The IPF is coming soon. Don't worry about that. After beating Russ, that gave me straight away a ticket to IPF Hall of Fame. That's what I was saying to Taylor Howard and Joey B. I'm the only 83 alive that in the IPF that ever will claim that being Russ. Moving on from that. So my question to all of you guys is, I will start with Nonso. One message.
Is Brett Gibbs not alive?
He's not in the IPF anymore. My man can't even hit death on bench press. So you know what I mean, yeah.
Brett Gibbs passed away.
Yeah.
Just announced. He passed away yesterday.
What you just did there?
R.I.P.
You know, funny enough, when I won in Lithuania, the first message I received on an E3 was from Brett. Right, he sent me a message. Was like, "May, congratulations, that was awesome."
What?
From Brett.
No
And I screenshot that shit. I printed that shit. I don't care what people say.
Hell yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I printed that shit. So yeah, what I would say, guys, again, in terms of like a message, what message do you have to the rest of the 120? Not just a world, because Rondel is here this year. I will start with Nonso.
What message do I have to what?
To all the 120s in the world for 2025.
Beware. I think you're gonna see the greatest like performances you've seen out of the 120 class. People used to say, like, obviously before everyone started coming out, that the 120 was kind of a dead class. I think that like stigma's gone. We're here. We're gonna do some crazy numbers. Obviously, world, you're gonna see, as Devin said, 1,000. So you're gonna see something big.
Playing for 1,000. I said I'm planning for 1,000.
Yeah,
I said I'm gonna do 1,000.
But regardless, I think you're gonna see some really big numbers. And yeah, you're gonna see what the 120s have to offer.
Not from you. Not
oh, me personally?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, man. Hopefully a bench above 220.
You're like, I gotta work on my bench. Jesus.
Yeah, man. After this, I'm going to the gym. I got a bench. Yeah, you're gonna see that even though I'm the youngest here, age ain't gonna stop me being a world champ.
Amen.
Ooh, nice.
Amen.
That was a good one.
And Etienne, I know that hit home. It hurt you. What message do you have for the rest of the 120?
I would say it's not my first rodeo, so I'm gonna come. I'll be there. That's it. So I'm not gonna say more.
I mean, you've seen it. 958 was not enough. He had only one bench in Lithuania, by the way. One bench.
I mean, 958, and it was the worst meet I've ever done. You know, I played my bench twice and repeated the deadlift twice, and I would say 960 is with 5 attempts, right? 6 attempts. Yeah,
I'm sure Rondel picked up a calculator thinking how much is going to total with 5 attempts or 6 attempts so far. Anyway, Dave, what message you have to the rest of the 120? Don't talk about your bench, right? It's not relevant anymore, please.
Yeah, it's just the best in the world. It's not relevant. No, I would say if your total doesn't start with a 1 in 2025, you're not going to be relevant.
Love the smoke, my man.
Wow. So I mean, Dennis need to go to strongman. Jesus. Anyway, I mean, he's a big boy now. He's a big one. He might as well just carry on. A few more beggars. That's it. So Rondel, I know you're looking at it. You're thinking, oh my God, that's not enough, guys.
Yeah.
Do you think 10 or 45 was enough? Let me see what I'm gonna do when I'm back. Go on.
Yeah, I'll say enjoy my absence while it lasts. So,
oh shit, there's another fire quote. We got some good fire quotes here.
Ryan, I'm telling you. So you guys, Ryan, I mean, again, you ain't got no message for the 120 because you are 83. I take you as an 83, so I love you as a brother, as an 83 brother. So what do you think, right, the 120s are capable of this year in terms of like, I'm going to throw this question to you because you're the one who was asked this question. Do you think we're going to see a couple thousand kilos for the 120s, or is just talk or smoke with our fire?
Look, it's definitely not talk. Will we see 1,000 kilos at an international competition? I think it's on the table. It really depends if on the top end, look, if Nonso's pacing for 1,000, Dev's got to chase him. He's going to have to load up in that. If Dev, it's same with Etienne. He's going to have to load up for that. Even if you think you're a 980, if you need to load up and it's your chance for a world title, you're going to load up for 1,000. Someone's going to hit, someone's going to miss. 100% it's capable. I want to see what happens. By the end of 2025, for sure. We're only halfway through in June. By the end of 2025, I guarantee you we're gonna have a couple more people officially 1,000 and up, because 2025 still got, you know, another half a year after us. So I say yes. And I also say, you start off the podcast saying the 120s don't get the respect and the love that they should get from the powerlifting community. That's going to be righted. I'll tell you why this is the case. Bobb somehow isn't at Worlds. Rondel, someone isn't at Worlds. They're all kind of all over the place. When everybody converges and kind of meets somewhere and decides, let's battle it out and see what happens. This is when we're going to see it. If Bobb was at Nats, you have Dev, Rondel, Bobb, beautiful. Wait, it's all coming together. And at that point in time, the 120s will be the class of the powerlifting division.
I agree. Ryan, have you got any few last questions before I wrap up?
I was jumping in as you went. You had a lot of good questions. Some of them the same I had already. And then every now and then when I wanted to snowball in there, you let me jump in, and I'm good. I'm good, man. Fellas, this was a great podcast.
Yeah, you're good at stirring the pot, you know, saying Rondel is washed out. Jesus Christ.
You ain't too bad either. I tell you what.
I mean, for Rondel to bench less, I never thought like Rondel bench less than Dave until I went on open powerlifting. Jesus Christ.
That should be the title of the podcast. Rondel.
yeah.
It's called 0.5. It's called 0.5.
0.5, you know, that's it. And 2.5 on the deadlift on Nonso. So I mean, that's right. Yeah. Fellas, look, it's been wonderful. I really appreciate it. As I said in the beginning, I know timing is really rough. I mean, Rondel, the time difference is just ridiculous. Of course, Dave, for you to join in, even though the little kid, the little angel and the wife is right next to you, and I can see the dog thinking like, come on, let me go for a walk. So, you know, I appreciate you. And then Etienne over there is like 11 o'clock or so, whatever. I'm really sorry, mate. But your bedtime, you're going to pass. Ryan, I can't thank you enough, my friend. You've always been brilliant.
Okay, thank you.
You don't need thanks from me. You're in Britain. That's what it's all about. Do you know what I mean? You're here to support me against these guys. So thank you very much. So guys, I appreciate you. I'll see you guys in Germany, Dave. I'll see you Nonso in Germany. Etienne, I'll see you in Germany.
I'll see you,
and Rondel, I will see you. I will see you. Yeah. You know, I'm literally looking at him thinking, you know, when Rose was looking at Jack, when she pushed Jack in that bloody Titanic in that last scene, thinking like, he's gone. I will see you. Hopefully, you resurrect again. You come back alive next year. And we have got Bobb waiting for you. Dave will be there. And Joshua will be there. For some reason, I always put Joshua before Nonso. Sorry, Nonso, because of that 30 kilo that he lost. Yes. Do better.
I will.
Guys, appreciate you. And I'll be posting this right away, probably tomorrow. So, because this is hot. All right. Speak to you guys soon. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Peace.